Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here at the Colorado School of Mines campus. Let's talk about what we will do in the GEGN 590 course. Specifically, week 5 spatial analysis approaches. Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here. You know, in my view of geospatial technology and methods, spatial analysis really distinguishes a GIS from being just a mapping tool, right? Just a mapping tool. It allows us to make smarter, wiser decisions about the world. And that's what you're going to dig into in this week 5 of our course. What is spatial analysis? What are some techniques in spatial analysis? And I don't want you to just read about this. I've got some readings in here as always. I want you to do spatial analysis. So you're going to look at a couple of things. First of all, the ESRI spatial analysis poster will give us some nice framework to discuss this. We'll talk about the analysis tools and workflows for your project. So everything, just like every week, everything that you do in this week will hopefully be either incorporated directly into your project or will be things that you think about for your GIS project. So it's all designed to help you with your project. Specifically, the activities are analyzing zebra mussels, a certain type of aquatic invasive species that perhaps you've heard about in ArcGIS Online. So looking at change over space and time and running some tools in ArcGIS Online to help you understand the temporal and spatial situation with the zebra mussels from 1986 to about 2018. So you're going to do that in ArcGIS Online. And then in ArcGIS Pro, to give you some sense of how the tools may be similar or different inside ArcGIS Pro, you're going to analyze wind farms, wind turbines in ArcGIS Pro. And while you're doing that, I want you to think about the data quality. Do we trust the data? How do we know if the data is any good? Where did it come from? What scale was it created at? And with the wind farms data, there are some attributes that are missing. So when you start mapping the wind farms by attribute, you'll see that there's some missing data. What do I do with that? Do I delete those points? Do I populate the attributes? Do I find some other source to supplement that existing source? So in the real world, we seek to manage data. We ideally would like to eliminate it, but we can't really eliminate it. We're going to manage it as best we can. We've got an imperfect world here in terms of data. We're trying to understand our oblate spheroid that we're all living on as best we can. The shape, the size, the attributes, the changes, the human impact, 8 billion humans impacting the planet. So all of GIS data is imperfect. But how can we manage that imperfection? How can we manage uncertainty? How do we manage error? That's all part of building on last week's data discussion, but here in the analysis. What analysis tools do you learn? Which ones do you use? Do you use Online or Pro or other GIS packages for that matter? When do you use each one? And what's the difference between, let's say you're overlaying something. Do you overlay? Do you intersect? Do you erase? There are different kinds of flavors of each, for example, overlay operation, and each give you different results. So it depends on what your goal is. It depends on your audience. It depends on the resolution of your project, the scale of your project. There are lots of variables to think about. And in this short course, you can't think about all the possible scenarios and all the possible permutations and all the possible audiences, but at least it gets you thinking about that for your future courses or your future workplace. So I'm hoping that this analysis module or week is really, really helpful to you all. It helps you focus on, I'm going to select a certain number of analysis tools for my project that are appropriate. I'm not going to use ones that just because they're there, but which ones are appropriate. Also thinking about which ones could I use in the future? So this becomes part of your recommendations section of your project, your narrative, where you say, I didn't have time to do this, but this would be a very helpful thing for me or someone else taking these sets of research questions and running with it in another area of the planet or another scale or another set of themes. Your recommendation section is where you could put some of those analysis tools that perhaps you thought about, you didn't have time to use, but would be appropriate for your project or for related projects. So I'm hoping that that is extremely helpful as well this week. Some readings, some activities, some things to think about, and then also, again, a short quiz that you can take at the end of the week that gives you confidence, I'm hoping, and encouragement that, okay, you've made some more progress this week. You've learned some things. You tried some things that you didn't do before. You've tried some different GIS packages. You've tried some analysis tools that perhaps were new to you. Mean center, standard deviational ellipse, for example, with the zebra mussels. And you're further along this week than you were last week. So I'm hoping that the quiz is encouraging. Again, it's a 5-minute quiz just as an encouragement at the end, and also for you to gauge your progress. So that is week number 5, analysis methods and workflows. Glad you could join me for this course.